Hello, my name is Ales and I've been writing software since 1986. Applications for factories, travel agencies, tour operators, logistics, sports federations, institutes, foundations, municipal offices, and others. Small teams with real users. Software that had to keep working for years, sometimes decades. And something had been bothering me for a while. The way we build web applications has become extraordinarily complex, not because the problems we are solving got harder, but because the tools we adopted to make things easier kept adding layers on top of layers. A bloated framework to abstract the server, a bundler to compile the front end, a CDN because the bundle is too big to serve directly, a container because the environment assumptions are too fragile, at the end the pipeline because the deployment is too involved to do by hand. Each of those layers made sense in isolation at some point for someone. Together, they make a web application that a single developer cannot fully understand, cannot fully control, and cannot maintain without constantly relearning the parts that changed since last year. That's not engineering, it's a tool management hostage situation. Teams spend more time managing their tools than writing their software. Projects get rewritten not because they were wrong, but because nobody on the current team could safely change the one that existed. Framework versions get declared legacy within a few years of their adoption. Complexity in software does not arrive all at once. It accumulates one reasonable decision at a time. You add a package because writing that utility from scratch seems wasteful. You add a bundler because the browser can't import modules the way Node can. You add a build step because the CSS needs processing. You add a container because the build step has environment requirements. And finally, you add a pipeline because the container needs to be rebuilt on every deploy. Each step is a response to a real problem, but the result, a project where git pull on a fresh machine requires 20 minutes of setup before you can see a page, is a problem too, and nobody chose it deliberately. Most of those layers are solving problems that a different, earlier choice would have avoided entirely. Not better tools, fewer tools. So, I asked myself a simple question. If you strip away the accumulated conventions and started from what a web application actually needs to do, what would you keep? A server that handles requests, a database that stores data, templates that produce HTML, and a browser that displays it. Some engineering principles have proven themselves across every technology cycle. Simplicity. Each layer you choose not to add is a layer that cannot fail. Explicit architecture. Code you can read and understand without first understanding a framework's internals. Server-side rendering. The server knows what the page should look like, so it sends a page, not a JavaScript bundle that eventually figures it out. And minimal dependencies. The fewer you import, the fewer you maintain, and the less of what runs in production was written by someone you've never heard of. These are not new ideas. They are old ideas that the industry periodically rediscovers after the alternatives prove expensive. Reepolee is the answer to that question. The Reepolee Framework is built on a coherent engineering philosophy, a set of principles and patterns that determine which technology choices are worth making and which are not. It is the reference implementation of the approach, and it demonstrates those principles in practice. Explicit routing, server-side rendering, vanilla JavaScript, a real authentication system, and a real file structure. You download it, you read it, you understand how it works, and then you build your application on top of it with code you own from the first line. Here is how it comes together. The application handles its own routing in TypeScript with bun as the runtime. Templates are .re files, a thin, readable format that compiles on the server and sends complete HTML to the browser. There is no build step, zero runtime dependencies, and no hydration layer to maintain. The server sends a page, the browser shows it. Who is it really for? Reepolee targets applications that need to stay in production indefinitely, not the ones that need to handle a million concurrent users, but the ones that need to still be maintainable in 5 or 10 years by whoever ends up responsible for them then. That is a much larger category of software than the industry conversation would suggest. If you want to start smaller, Reweb is a free static site generator that comes from the same philosophy. Extract the archive, run bun reweb install, then run bun dev. Edit your templates and run bun ssg to render the site. The workflow has no build pipeline and zero runtime dependencies. Share a working site from your computer with bun cf share or deploy to Cloudflare Worker with bun cf deploy. I need to address the elephant in the room, the AI. While this approach might look straight out of 2006, it actually leverages AI heavily. It helped us build a set of tools that make the output deterministic and idempotent. Because everything sits right there in your folder, uncompressed and ready to inspect, it is perfectly understood by AI agents. LLMs love it. To help them further, we provide an MCP server with tools that replicate the CLI, like adding CRUD routes or running SQL selects. This allows you to use AI at a higher level with much more confidence that the new code will match your existing codebase. I don't ask you to take any of this on faith. The engineering notes on this site document the reasoning behind every significant decision that went into the approach. Read them, disagree with some of them. The goal is to build software that lasts. If the approach resonates, Reweb and the Reepolee Framework are the fastest way to see what it looks like in practice. Welcome to simplicity.